Welcome back to the channel. I am super excited about this episode. Today I am joined with my friend Michelle, and you may remember Michelle from a few months ago. We had done a video together talking about our love of American Girl dolls and sewing historical fashions to them, and I will link down below to that video in the description box. But this is super exciting for me. You have been working on this project for almost a year now.
Yeah, a year.
Every October, Michelle and her family host a elaborate costume party in October. And it's kind of to celebrate your birthday.
Oh yes, a birthday month.
Yes, it's birthday month, and of course Halloween,
right.
and it states on the invitation that costumes are mandatory.
Yes.
And every year you have a different theme.
Right.
And this year you selected Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, do you and your family vote on that, or is it...
No. It's a total dictatorship. No, actually, I shouldn't say that. I do let them have input. I mean, a couple years ago we did Game of Thrones, and that was decided by the kids. We watched the series, and they decided we were going to do that. So, but we had watched a couple Pirate of the Caribbean movies. They're always been favorites of our family, and I'm like, you know what? We've got to do Pirates. It's just, it's so iconic, Halloween and Disney, and it seems like we do a lot of Disney themes, and we hadn't done this
I
one
know
yet.
you guys really love Disney.
We love Disney.
And it's not just costuming. Mike, Michelle's husband, and she also create basically set design too. The entryway into the party is always very elaborate, so hopefully there's going to be another video once you have everything decorated that we can share with viewers. So we're going to do some up-close details. You can talk about the different characters. And then later tonight, there is going to be a premiere of you and your family actually wearing the costumes, and you're going to swear up and down that you're at the ocean on the cliffs. It was a really amazing photo shoot. I went as a little luggage handler and
as a helper,
petticoat fluffer, and the photographs really turned out beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I was looking through the proofs, and I teared up.
And some of those still photographs will be shared on my website, and I will give the direct linked below in the description box. So Michelle, I want to start with my favorite costume,
Okay.
and that is Jack the Monkey.
Okay.
So this is beloved Jack the Monkey. And I remember the day before the photo shoot, Michelle was like, I'm making a tiny shirt and vest for the monkey. And so tell us about Jack the Monkey, and he's the famous sidekick of
Captain Barbosa.
Captain Barbosa.
In the movie, well, if you remember from the very first movie, they're ghost on the ship, and they don't come alive till the end. Well, I'm giving a spoiler. And Jack is Barbosa's monkey that's always sitting on there. I think it's pronounced capuchin monkey. And so I couldn't have a real one, obviously, for the photo shoot. So I found this nice one on Amazon, and I was going to leave it with no clothes on, and the kids were like, no, Mom, you've got to dress the monkey. So I'm like, okay, I'm dressing the monkey the day before the photo shoot. And it kind of worked out. He's about American Girl doll size, if you want to say that. But I made the American Girl doll shirt, and I realized that the arms on the monkey are so much more forward than the doll arms. So I had to increase the back of the shirt in order to get over the back of the monkey and make the front more narrow to fit. So I had to do the same thing with the vest. And my daughter ran to Hobby Lobby and got the little trims to finish out Jack the Monkey, but I said I'm not making him pants. So
you draw the line at pants. So this costume was made for your son Matthew.
Yes, my youngest kids are twins, and he's the baby of the twins. So this was his costume. He chose. When I said dictatorship earlier, I did let the kids pick which character from the movie that they wanted to be, and Matthew said right away Barbosa. And in fact, as soon as we're done shooting this costume gets shipped off to Florida, where he's at art school. This costume was a little bit tricky because I don't always get caught up in being movie screen correct on costumes. Sometimes I'm okay with getting something similar, but I really wanted the texture of his jacket to be similar to that of the one from the movie. And I found this fabric at Hobby Lobby, and it was really kind of a light sagey green. And I called Laura, and I'm like, Laura, you have experience in dyeing fabrics. I was like, can you help me in getting this dark gray? And I feel like it really came out nice. This fabric was also sagey green because I thought I wanted to make sure that it had the same undertones as this green did.
Yes.
So when it dyed, it kind of all
would be in the same color
palette. Yeah. Group. And I feel like it came out really nice.
I loved it.
I hand stitched all the trim on to make it look like Barbosa's jacket. And I made his shirt, and it's tea dyed. Oh, and I followed the pattern that I use, the Simplicity pirate pattern, pretty correctly, except for Barbosa has open slits in his jacket. So I just kind of cut open the top sleeve and then just lined it in between and tacked it in the middle to get that nice open look so you can see his shirt underneath.
And all of the patterns that Michelle used, I will have listed on my accompanying web post today.
Yes. So, and since Pirates, though, Pirates of the Caribbean is such a popular movie, you can find reproductions of the belt buckles very easily online. Etsy has tons of reproduction. Now, these aren't theatrically correct for Barbosa's buckles. I could not find his. So, but I did spray paint like Jack's buckles. I spray painted them silver because Barbosa.
That's a great tip.
Jacket, silver buckles. So believe it or not, the metal does spray paint really nice.
Beautifully.
It did.
I mean,
it worked.
I can't even
And then
tell.
we brushed a little bit of black paint on there to make them look a little
Antique.
pop, a little antique. And
Beautiful.
the vest pattern was a Laughing Moon pattern for double-breasted men's jacket or men's vest waistcoat, and I just found fabric that's very similar to the picture. I just look at lots of reference pictures and see how I try to get close. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want it that, you know, when people take a quick glance, I know who that is.
Yes, you did.
And then going with Barbosa, here is also his hat up here in this corner.
Right.
And to complement Barbosa's costume, Barbosa always wore this big flamboyant hat with big feathers. So this summer I learned how to make Regency bonnets. So I was like, I can apply this technique to the hats that I couldn't find anywhere online that I really wanted. So I found, so using like my bonnet techniques, I found a pattern for a Cavalier style pirate hat and covered it just in ultra suede, just basic costume.
It's the details.
It's basic costume fabric that is you can find at Joann's, and I've got some nice feathers and everything.
The feathers are beautiful.
Complete the look, and my son had a great time wearing it.
He did.
He was a hoot, and when you see the pictures, you'll see. I couldn't keep a straight face looking at him.
No, he was so in
funny.
character.
Yes.
He was very much in character.
There's not a picture that he has a straight face in it. Next costume was the one I wore. She is not it's Angelica Teach is the character, and she plays Jack's love interest in, I don't know, I think it's Pirates Caribbean on Stranger Tides. It might have been the 6th movie or 5th movie. I'm not sure which number it was, but so since I made my husband Jack, I've got to be Jack's
His love interest. Absolutely.
And the character was played by Penelope Cruz. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't wear a black wig. I just went with my blonde, and that was okay.
Yes.
Not theatrically close, but not correct. So I did get lucky on one thing with her costume. I was able to find on Etsy. These are her reproduction of her belt buckles that for the bandolier and the buckle,
yes.
and I was able to find those from a vendor from Etsy. The only thing that I really wanted for Angelica's costume, and I could not find it, was the paisley that she had in her vest. It was a green background, very similar to this paisley, but I found it on Spoonflower, but if you've ever ordered from Spoonflower, sometimes the artists have it's posted there, but you can't buy it unless you get permission from the artist to do it. So, and that person never got back to me. So
it's a close match.
Yeah,
though.
it's a close match. I know it's not green, but I was extremely happy with it.
Yes, it turned out beautiful.
It came out great, and then just did a traditional pirate shirt that had drawstrings at the wrist, the shoulders, and under bust, and it worked really great. And I always get weird about wearing things that are off my shoulder. I feel like I'm constantly pulling them up. And I think using a drawstring instead of elastic in this costume really helped keep it on my shoulders, like right here nicely, and that I didn't feel like it was bouncing down or bouncing up. That elastic would have caused it to happen.
Now that you mention it, take after take when you were doing the photo shoot, it looked great.
It stayed in place on my shoulders correctly.
Yes,
And
that's
I really
a great
think
tip.
That was because I've done like off-shoulders costumes like this, and I've put elastic in there, and I just felt like it goes boing boing, kept popping up. So it stayed in place for
the
photo
photos.
shoot, and then I just did an underbust waist corset, cincher. It's laced up in the back, and then just used some gold trim. She has the original. It looks like it's embroidered in, but I have to make 6 costumes.
And in essence of time.
I bought trim from Hobby Lobby, and then my daughter made me the feather earring that she wears on one ear, and then this was just a cross in the jewelry section at Hobby Lobby that I found. And then for my bottoms, I just wore a pair of like Lululemon style leggings, and my daughter was giving away a pair of it was no heeled knee boots that were in trend a couple years ago, and she was going to get rid of them. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let you get rid of those because that's perfect for a Halloween costume. And here, 4 years later, I'm wearing them, and I'm like, they worked perfect. So that's what I wore on my bottom. And then also, Angelica wore a very similar hat to Barbosa in those movies. And so then again, I used the same pattern to make this hat. It's the Cavalier style hat. I found some great pheasant feathers that Angelica wore. And then she had this like leather trim around the bottom, and I found that at Joann's and just used that as my binding for my hat. Again, using the same techniques as like a Regency bonnet to make it, and had my own custom hat.
Wonderful.
And then right next to that costume is my my daughter. My oldest child, Madison, is 24, and if anybody follows my family, they know my oldest has Down syndrome, and she's also has alopecia, so she has no hair. So she's very fascinated. I think it's what brought her fascination with the mermaids. I think Ariel had always the long red hair.
Yes.
And she always dreams, of having long red hair like Ariel.
Yes.
And she has loved mermaids since she's a little kid. So when I asked her which costume she wanted, she was like, I want to be a mermaid. And I'm like, there's no mermaids in Pirates. And she was like, no, Mom, there is. And she reminded me in the same movie that this character was, there was mermaids in that movie. But they're not the nice Disney princess.
No, they're the siren mermaids.
They're the siren mermaids that eat sailors. So so I was like, okay, my design challenge on this one I really didn't, I used a pattern, but this is kind of my little bit of original of a design ended up and taking from parts from other things. And so I was like, how do I make her pretty and make her spooky at the same time? So I found a Yaya Hans had a pattern a couple years ago for a mermaid, but the mermaid was the costume pattern was a complete, almost like dress. It had the bodice, it had the tail as a skirt and a bodice that went all the way up. And my daughter, with the typical Down syndrome body that you see, is very petite.
She is tiny.
Very, very tiny. She's got the typical short arms and short legs. So whenever I sew from her, I usually always have to make major alterations to a pattern. And it always gives me anxiety when I'm cutting 6 inches of the length of something. I'm like, this cannot be right. And I'm like, and she gets lots of fittings because I'm like, I just don't want to cut 6 inches out of something and throw away fabric. So, this, she wore it. It zips up in the back, so her feet get completely disappear in this. And we did a photo like that where you can't see her feet at all. So she felt very pretty. Yes, she did, and she looked very wonderful. Mermaid. And then it was great. I just did the bodysuit underneath. I make dance costumes for competitive little kids dancing. So I just pulled out one of my leotard patterns and made a new, a flesh colored leotard, and then just draped some fishnet and glued some seashells. And I don't think she looks like a Disney princess. I think she looks like a scary mermaid.
Yeah,
mermaid.
She looked fabulous on the
and
day.
And we made this because, like I said, when I cut the pattern in half, to hide the waistband, I made this cute little ruffle for her. So,
it was very darling.
Yeah, she felt like a mermaid. And then I found a gorgeous long brunette wig for her on Amazon, and she wore that, and we put seashells in the wig and stuff. It looked really cute.
It did. Great. So I really love the graphic nature of this costume, Michelle. It's just stunning.
It is, but it was also a beast. I think I called you several times. Laura was like, I hate this costume. Again, I try not to be such the dictator, and I let my son, this is my oldest son. I have 4 kids, by the way. And the first 2, my Madison and Tony, are 11 months apart. And but I let him pick his character, and he was like, I want to be Captain Salazar. And he said with the Spanish accent perfectly. And I'm like, okay, that's what we're gonna go for him. And I'm like, well, Salazar also, if you've seen that movie, Dead Man Tell No Tales is this movie this came from. And Salazar is a ghost most of the time too. He's got crazy face that kind of is floating in and out, and so I was like, please don't pick the version that I have to do this crazy makeup. He was like, no, Mom. He goes, I want Salazar before he became a ghost. And I'm like, okay, that's good, because I don't have to destroy this costume. It took me 2 weeks to make and rough it up and make it look old. So we went with the nice Salazar before he became a ghost. And again, this is another Yaya Han coat pattern and vest, waistcoat. I guess it's like that
18th
century coat with the big pleats in the back that you can put your sword in, that you had room for your sword. So I use that pattern as my starting block for this coat, but I did change it. The original pattern did not have the mandarin collar, so I added that on. The waistcoat was rounded here and buttoned up, and then I did the pointed lapels on that to make it more like the original movie.
It's because it's black.
Oh, it's kind of hard to tell.
Bit.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, it's amazing that you didn't even just create a coat, but you created an entire long waistcoat.
Yes.
And do we even know?
Buttons actually work.
Yes.
I did not count to make sure that I actually
because
put
even
the
on
same
the
amount of
sleeve.
Oh yeah, it's got tons. It took the whole car ride back and forth to his graduation in Arkansas to sew all the buttons on.
2 states away.
2 states away to put the buttons on this costume. And but what really took the most amount of time on this costume is sewing all the. I ended up using grosgrain ribbon. The actual one from the movies looks like it's more like a braid, like a real thick 1-inch braid in different widths, but this costume I ended up taking my own creative license doing it, and I'm like, it had more white stripes on the sides, and I'm like, I think people are gonna look at this and know who he is, and I was like, I don't think people are gonna count the stripes, so I decided to leave off some of this, and I think the character that played him was a much bigger man than my son, and had more room to put more of these stripes on. So in the end, I just took my
creative license
to eliminate.
Now your son Matt, tell us about his medals.
My son Matt, that's in he goes to the Ringling Art Design School in Florida. We just recently got him a 3D printer because he's taken all these 3D modeling classes and everything. He wants to be a game designer, and I was like, okay, if I get you this, I said, your first thing you gotta make for me are these medals for Salazar's coat. So after we had a couple flops, a couple ones that like practice ones, and then we ended up with 3 medals that were close enough to the originals that we decided.
Yes.
It was like, okay, we went with them, spray painted them silver again, and then brushed some black paint on there to get them. And then and the original coat pattern does not have the epaulets. I made these designs.
Those are amazing.
So that, I look at this costume and I see my mistakes in it. It's one of those costumes where like, I wish I didn't have this seam here, and I wish ribbon bent really good around a curve, and and I thought, I'm just going to go with it. And looking at the photographs, you can't even tell it from a shoot. And I'm like, why did I have such anxiety over that? And it's okay.
I think as an artist, you're always very critical of your own work. The vast majority of people only see the beauty of the design. And ultimately, this will be worn maybe twice, and that was one for the photo shoot, and then for your party.
Yeah. So I'm just like I said, I have to tell myself a lot of times, it's a Halloween costume. It's a Halloween costume. And so like we're not entering any like historically correct contest with it. So I feel like you look at this and you know
who it is.
Who it is.
Absolutely.
That's my goal.
Bravo. Well done.
So I think it came out. It really came out beautiful.
I'm
think
really
so.
Happy
with it.
Great. So I think, Michelle, this was the very first costume that you created.
Yes. I started this immediately after Halloween.
Yes.
I think I made this probably November last year.
I think so.
And Laura always told me, you gotta start with the underpinnings. So what I don't have here is I actually got a corset pattern from or stays. They're not, wasn't a corset
correct.
at the time. It stay pattern from Red Threaded. And it was the first one I had made in a long time. The other corsets I had made in the past were more Victorian style because I was steampunk, and so I had never done this century stays. So it was good. It was good advice.
Yes.
So I made the stays for my daughter. So this costume is from pretty much kind of the first couple scenes of the very first Pirates of the Caribbean. And when I asked my daughter, this is one of the twins, Barbosa's twin sister. And Megan was like, I'm going to be Elizabeth Swann. I'm like, okay. And she goes, I want to wear the yellow dress she wears in the opening scenes of the movie. And I'm like,
yes.
Awesome. I love that. And so there is, and I'm sure Laura will put it on there is an incredible amount of information online for this costume.
Yes.
It's like the costume, I don't know, we'll put the link below. And they had very, very detailed pictures of the original costume. And down to like the exact fly trim that they used, which came from, is it MJ Designs in New York?
Yes.
The original trim came from them. And I looked, but the movie was too old and that trim has long since been gone. So if you look really closely at the original dress, it was all lace and embroidered on the stomacher, and I thought, gosh, I really want to do that. I don't want to leave this with bows or plain or anything. I really want it to look as much as possible like the original movie. And I was like, aha, I have a machine embroiderer. So I decided I could probably do machine embroidery. If anybody's seen Stein on YouTube, she does gorgeous work, and I was kind of watching a little bit of her stuff, and I thought she gave me some inspiration that I feel like I can do this with my embroidery machine. And I do have a large enough frame that I could fit the whole stomacher in my embroidery hoop for my machine embroidery. So I found a vendor on Etsy that had this pattern and that I purchased that I felt like was really close to the original.
Yes.
And then I just used threads that were similar in colors to the stomacher on the original gown was mostly cream, so I took a little bit of creative license again here and added the gold to match the dress. And then also that it was beaded, so I did hand put on some beads and pearls just to give it a little bit more.
It gives
dimension.
Beautiful depth.
Yeah, and so it didn't look so flat. And then Laura being my mentor for historical.
I don't know about that.
I'm like, Laura, I really want to use this pattern. There's a pattern Simplicity out there that is kind of a recreation of her dress. And Laura said, oh, I have used that pattern before. It was like my first attempt at making this little costume. So I decided, okay, we're going to go with that pattern. I pretty much did the pattern as is, except for I really wanted to make the back clean and smooth and match the pattern of the fabric. So I eliminated the zipper from the back.
Yes.
And made it the pattern called for a zipper back there, so I was like, yeah, that's not correct. And you can't get that nice, good point right here if you put a zipper there. So,
And I have to point out, can you take the lace out of the way? Michelle is so meticulous. Look at that pattern matching. Just truly stunning. It's amazing.
well, that's kind of, I like to try to do that if I can.
Yes.
And, so I really want that clean look. So I ended up using the snaps so she puts on the overdress like a jacket.
Yes.
And which is a little bit more historically correct, but it would have been
Hooks and eyes.
or
Yes.
pinned in on the side. So, but since this is a kid wearing it to, not a kid, she's 20, wearing it to a Halloween costume and a photo shoot, I decided snaps were the way to go, and so she wouldn't be jabbed or poked by stay pins.
And with anything, when you're doing costuming, it's all of the accessories and the details that really make a difference. You've even included her fan,
Yes,
the necklace.
She stands with the fan because she's like, I can't breathe, and she's fanning herself, and that's when she falls in the water.
Yes.
And she's wearing the gold coin.
Yes.
Which, she took from
Will.
when he was just a child, and that's what sent the pirates, sent the Black Pearl coming to them. So you have to have.
Absolutely.
You can't have this costume
Absolutely.
without wearing the pirate coin, and then also I finished it off with the little cap. Hers is from the movie was a little bit more see-through, and I hadn't had any experience yet at making like just lace forms and covering that is sheer. So I just again pulled out my Regency bonnet making skills and made just a flat disc covered with silk that Laura gave me, and then covered it with the matching lace from the dress, and I think it came out to be really cute.
It really was beautiful
Yeah.
when she was wearing it. She has dark hair like Keira Knightley, and it really was a beautiful
Yeah. The only thing
costume.
she wore her hair back in a ponytail, and then my daughter used to like to wear them when she was little, and my husband always called it a squirrel. But it's the little clip-on.
Yeah, a little
that makes
hair
the tail-
piece.
Hairpiece that makes it longer. We call them squirrels in our house.
It looked great. It matched.
It looks like a squirrel tail, but it made and it was curly. So underneath the hat, with her hair pulled back and that big poof, it looked
the single curl. It definitely.
Looked really good.
It
came out
did.
really
It
nice.
looked great.
Yeah, and there's a picture of her, and it's not any close up of the costume, but she's kind of standing on a cliff. At the lake where we did the photo shoot, and I was like, I had to order that picture, and I know it's not a close up of her, but it just, the mood was right, and
Yes.
I saw a picture and was just like, that really,
It was beautiful.
it was beautiful, and but she had lots of fun wearing it, and yeah.
Yeah. So Megan, who wore this Elizabeth Swann dress, has been dating my son for almost 2 years now that they've been together. And I'm not sure how it came to be. This is definitely a very much an annual family endeavor. But my son was insistent that he needed the Will Turner costume.
I think Megan was too.
And I said, I had spoken with Michelle, and I said, the kids want to do this, and so I will make the Will Turner costume. And just to clarify, he will not be in the family photos. But later tonight, when we do the premiere video, you will definitely see my son dressed, and so I definitely got off.
And he is such a good boyfriend. He grew his hair out for a year because we picked the theme right after last year Halloween, and my daughter told him, it was like, you gotta grow your hair out. So he left his hair grow for a year, and he had this beautiful ponytail. He looks so authentic.
He looked very authentic,
Yeah.
and during this year, there have been friends and family members who have commented on his long hair, and I said, these are locks of love. Very, very
Yeah,
most
very much
definitely.
so.
And he is going to continue to grow it out and then eventually will donate his hair, which I think
that's
is
awesome.
wonderful.
In fact, Megan has done that twice.
Yeah, well,
When she was a little kid, she grew it out long, and especially since my daughter started with the alopecia, or my other
Madison.
And it was very sweet. She had said, she goes, I want to donate my hair, Mama, so Madison can have a wig. And I'm like, oh baby, like it takes 8 donations to make one
yes,
wig.
and they're extremely expensive too.
Extremely expensive. So Madison does have a real hair wig that one of Megan's friends did have a Locks of Love wig when she was going through cancer treatment, and then once that was all over, she recovered and as a survivor, and she never wore the wig again. She did grow her hair out, so she gave the wig to Madison.
Yes, it's a beautiful
wig. So we do have
wig.
that real hair wig. But if anybody knows, I mean, if you live in the state of Texas, wigs are not fun.
No, because it's too warm.
It's just too hot. It's like it's like wearing a wool cap. I mean, a full fur cap all the time. So my daughter does tend to not wear. She looks
and she's darling. I mean, she has the most perfectly shaped head, and I love it.
It's perfectly smooth.
Yes,
it's great. And I was like, Madison, you got a beautiful head, and but yeah, she chooses not to wear the wig.
Yeah,
it's just too hot.
It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I really got off easy in terms of the costuming. For this men's project, my son was going to personify Will Turner, and I think I watched the fight scene between him and Captain Jack Sparrow probably close to 20 times. I looked at a lot of still movie photos, and it was then that I kind of realized that the fabric had some stitching, and of course to find such a fabric, and this is a linen cotton blend, you couldn't find anything like that. So I spent an entire plane trip from Texas to Oregon and back again before I constructed the vest itself with embroidery floss and an embroidery needle. And I had used a washable marker to measure and mark the lines on the back, and then with my little seam gauge, I tried to make it because it is very, very uniform on the inspiration fabric. And he has metal buttons, so I tried to match those as closely as possible. And just the typical pirate shirt. Because we do costuming, I really wanted to try and make this authentically as possible. So even the buttons and the neck closure has the threaded buttons and button loop closure. And I couldn't really find a fabric to line it with that was the right tone, so I took an old sheet and writ dye a couple of different fabrics, and Michelle had ordered linen in bulk from, was it fabrics.com?
I think it's that Fabric, it was like on sale
Fabric
for
Direct.
Direct, yes.
Fabric Direct. When they're running their linen sales for $7 a yard.
Yeah.
Michelle bought a bolt of it, and I said, hey.
Yeah, come over. So my husband is getting upset with my stash later on.
So and he also, you'll see in tonight's premiere, his hair was pulled back. He had the silk ribbon on his ponytail, and he's wearing authentic brown breeches, the tan stockings, and then he does not wear boots in that first film, he wears a traditional man's 18th century shoe with the buckle. And so you'll see, as wonderful as these costumes are on the mannequin forms, when you see them on,
Come to life.
it's just amazing. I'm really excited to share the video.
Yes.
All right. I think the most iconic character from the series is Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, and he is a character that's continuous through the whole series.
Yes.
Up till now. I think I heard a rumor he's not going to be in the
one featuring women.
Yes, he's not going in the future. He's not in them, but he's been in them since the beginning. So I told you a little bit about Angelica. So this is my husband. I said you've got to be Jack Sparrow, and if you've met my husband, he plays his part.
He got into character very well.
Very good, and I between him and my son,
we were laughing all day.
He just he studied the movie. In fact, Ian came over to our house, to see Megan, and he was like, between you and my mom, I don't know how many times I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, we're studying. Leave us alone. So for this costume, I was like, okay, Mike, you're gonna be Jack, but I didn't want to do the big coat because we live in Texas. You never know what kind of weather we're gonna get in October.
Yes,
we're either freezing or we're sweating.
Yes, there's no in between.
There's no in between. One year I dressed twins up as sheep, and I made them head to toe in this fur sheep costume. It had a hood and everything was fur, and I dressed Madison up as Lobo Peep, and the twins were her sheep.
No.
And they were, this
tiny.
They came home, and it was a hot night. Megan's face was bright red. They were covered. They looked like they had been out of the swimming pool.
Yes.
So, like I digress, but you never know what kind of weather we're going to get.
Absolutely.
So I decided he's Mike and I host this party. I need a costume that's a little bit more able for him to move about. Although with all this waist stuff, it's when we were getting dressed for this, I told him, I was like, how important the costume person is on a movie set, especially when you have all these pieces to make sure it's continuous. And Laura and I were discussing about this, like there was one scene somebody's got something in their pocket, and next scene, like, where did they go?
Yes.
So it's so important when you're talking
continuity.
about all of this, you get continuity, and you kind of get a new appreciation for your costume.
What they do
on
it
the
is
set. It is really it's an art.
It is an art, and I'm so thankful that the Academy Awards acknowledged their work.
Yes, absolutely. So, starting to get inspiration for Jack, since I decided I didn't want to do the coat and stuff for him. There's this awesome YouTuber and cosplayer that's on Instagram and YouTube, and she really got kind of her start in the beginning of Allison Tabitha. I think Tabitha is how you say her last name. She's kind of known for doing Jack, and she's kind of known for doing Wonder Woman. She looks just like the newest Wonder Woman out there, and she's a makeup artist, and she really does her makeup and looks like the character. I mean, you would swear up and down she was Jack. And so I watched, she has some great tutorials on Jack's costume, and one of the ones that I watched multiple times was her tutorial on how to do Jack's wig, which is, you have to have it. I mean,
yes.
You can put him in anything else here, but you gotta have this.
Absolutely.
And this says Jack.
Absolutely.
So she started, she had loose hair that she took glue and bundled it together and made the dreads, and then she painted them, and then took just a regular wig and hot glued the dreads in the wig. And we'll put a link to the video, her tutorial video, which is awesome. I mean, she is
spot on,
and she teaches you exactly step by step how to do his wig. And so I watched her YouTube video, like I said, quite a few times to figure out how to do the wig. The scarf is sewn to the wig, so he can just take it off and put the whole thing on.
That
we don't have to worry about doing his hair or anything. And then she she shows you how to sew the beads onto the dreads and everything to decorate his wig. The only thing, I forget what she used for the bone that is in Jack's hair. I ended up thought, I had some Sculpey clay at home that I could bake in my Easy Bake Oven.
You were without a range.
Story. I was without an oven forever, and so this is Sculpey clay, and I just painted it.
Oh, that's
white
amazing!
to make it look like a bone.
Yeah.
So it came out really great.
It did.
And then his mustache. That was a little less. I wasn't going to do it. I was going back and forth whether I was going to do it. And then I realized the night before the photo shoot, it was like, yeah, he needs this. And I sent my husband to the costume shop to get, they did have a Jack Sparrow set. And he goes, Michelle, he texted me from the costume shop. And he was like, I don't think you're going to like it. And he took a picture of wearing it. I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. Don't buy it. And I'm like, okay, we'll just... I'm just gonna go without it. We're just, it is what it is. I wait till the last second to do that. So I watched this. I watch funny stuff, and there's this guy that does dolls, and he takes Barbie dolls and transforms them, uses like acetone, removes all their makeup, and repaints their faces. And I was watching this video, and he was taking yarn and using like a dog hair brush and brushing out the yarn and making wig hair for the dolls. And I'm like, aha! I was like, I have an idea. So I took I was like, I got lots of brown yarn. So I took the brown yarn, and I have a dog, so I took the dog brush, brushed it out, and I came up with this nice fur. And I had pieces that were long enough. I braided it, and then some of it I just kind of clipped it up. So using spirit gum, I painted his chin with the spirit gum, because usually you can use like cray. I think it's like cray paper, not cray. It's like fake hair that they use in theaters. And so this was what I substituted for that, because it was 10 o'clock at night.
Before the photo shoot.
And so we just used spirit gum and used the yarn, and then I trimmed it. And she shows you how she did it with the theatrical stuff. I'm like, that yarn ended up working perfect. And that's
a brilliant tip.
And so I was able to salvage it, but my husband had spirit gum on it, on his chin for a little while. It was kind of funny. So that's the iconic head hair and the facial hair for Jack. So then when I got to his costume, this pattern for this costume, for the vest, the pants, which we don't have on here, and the shirt is the exact same as what we did for Barbosa's pattern.
Okay, great.
That pattern is... We'll put a link to that, or what that pattern is, by Simplicity, and you can do anything you want from it. This is also the linen that Laura used, and I dyed it.
It dyes
blue.
beautifully.
It dyes beautifully. I mean, just perfect. And because Jack has a blue vest, and I did find the scarf on Etsy, and I dyed it, or tea-dyed it to make it look.
Yes.
And then also for Jack, you can find all of his reproduction of his buckles. And there's places that sell them as a complete set, and then you just use belts or make your own. And I make my own out of vinyl. Just flip it over, stitch on the sides, and then put grommets.
It's very clever.
Which is how I make my belts. And then you can make them any size that you want. You can make them any color you want. The only thing with sewing vinyl, if anybody's ever sewn it on a machine, like I said, we're big Halloweeners, costumers.
Yeah.
And sewing, I do lots of vinyl for leather, and I found this out about pulling my hair out doing the Game of Thrones costumes, because I used a lot of pleather for that, and you have to use a Teflon presser foot, or a pressure foot with rollers on it, that it
will help glide it.
Yeah, glide it. It was that vinyl gets stuck in your machine.
That is a great tip.
Pleats. or you can put tissue paper underneath and tissue paper on top. Then you got to pick the tissue paper.
Yes.
So it's just, sewing vinyl is not the easiest thing to do. When the cost of leather, I mean, you just, for something that you're going to wear twice, you don't want to
Yes.
use real leather on this. But I was able to find, these are plastic weapons from Amazon. I found his Jack's compass on Amazon, and I actually bought that before we got the 3D printer. And there's actually, you can find, my son laughs at me because I call them patterns. Everything to me is a pattern.
Yes.
And he was like, Mom, you call it, they're 3D files. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's a pattern. And we have found, and since I have found the patterns to files to make Jack's compass, but this is one I bought. It's like a Disney thing, but I thought it's good enough for
It's a perfect prop.
Yeah, and Jack in the movie has more beads and everything, but I did find his dried chicken foot on on Etsy, and just his rabbit pellet from Hobby Lobby. But that was Jack, and then he has pirate boots that I just was able to find on Amazon. I ended up buying boots that look like pirate boots instead of doing boot covers. We do costumes enough, and I do wear costumes over again, that I go ahead and buy the shoes. It was like, to me, shoes kind of finish the outfit.
Absolutely.
You don't have the right shoes, it just kind of grows on you. And I wish for my son's costume, Mike was going to throw away a pair of black ropers, and I was like, oh, I can use those for Tony. And after wearing them, I wish I would have had like the knee-high boots for him, but it is what it is.
You have to draw the line somewhere.
I was like, they were going to be like well over $100 for the boots. He's going to wear them twice. And I'm like, yeah. So I chose not to do that. But pirate boots I did buy, because you can always be a pirate.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Ren Festival, there's Pirate Days places. So
yes.
I figure we'll get use out of
You'll
that
get
again.
a great use out of them. And really, the 18th century pirate style, you can wear it with 18th century fashions. Some of the boots work in early Regency, so
Yeah. So
it's a good investment.
I'll get use out of it. But the only regrets I have about all, like, the costuming or the pirates, I wish I would have like aged them a little bit more, and after I was like, but like you said, as it is now, I could get away with wearing it to another event.
Exactly.
And if I would have aged it too much, it would have.
Yes. Well, wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
this was, and Laura set this room all up for me, and I came over here and helped her get some of it together. And I walked in today and saw all this set up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a year of my life. But it kind of chokes you up a little, when
Yes.
you see all the work. I saw all my kids in it and everything, obviously, but when you see it all like this,
All
and
together.
kind of like sit back and look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I had just in kind of getting the bird's eye view of you making this, it was really neat to see it all come to fruition.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you are costuming, people will ask you, what is your favorite era or favorite theme to create? And it's really whatever project I'm working on at the time.
Yeah.
It is my favorite. Whatever. Right now I have gone down the rabbit hole of Edwardian, and soon I'll be moving into 1840s Dickens Victoriana.
Yeah.
And in seeing all these costumes, it's impossible for me to pick a favorite, because the sheer detail of Jack's costume, and then how Matthew brought his character to life.
Absolutely.
So I think you're really going to love tonight's premiere video, where you get to see the costumes in motion. And I guess, so the next thing that we'll see is maybe your house all decorated.
Yeah, right now we are full swing prop building.
Yes.
I was out there last night with my big crowbar and the jigsaw, cutting up pallets to make make
Because you
rum
really,
boxes.
Mike and Michelle really repurpose side of the road. Junk.
Yeah,
finds.
my goal is to either do free and cheap. I'm like, I have my paint, I'm getting my house repainted. My painter was like, I have a whole thing of brown paint that, you know, somebody didn't like, and instead of throwing it away, I was like, oh no, bring brown. I'll take creams, browns, blacks. I'll repurpose
Anything
all that
for making.
yeah.
Because you're creating an entire plank and pier, and
and then we have done it for we have done our house like this for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And we start, Mike and I call them drive-byers. We have people, we live on, it's not a cul-de-sac, it's more like a U. And starting about October 1st, they're lining up like, when are you gonna put your stuff up? And last year we were a little bit late with COVID, and our one prop delayed us, and because we had technical issues, and everyone was like, oh, we were so worried that you weren't going to do it, and I'm like, oh no, we are not missing Halloween.
No, I mean, because they incorporate lighting, there's music, there's smoke machines, strobe lights.
The year before COVID hit, we were actually on Channel 5 News, came out and filmed us Halloween morning to the house, and we got on local neighborhood sites, shared our address, and I called our local police department. I'm like, I think you better make a presence in our neighborhood, because I think we're going to get a lot of kids. Mm-hmm. And the way the curve is, I just didn't want anybody getting hurt. I didn't know if we were going to need people directing traffic, or I just wanted the police to know. Yeah. Like, we were going to have lots of people that night. And we did. We had over 500 trick-or-treaters.
I remember you saying that it was like 800 pieces of candy.
Oh yeah. I prepare a lot of candy, and I just don't hand out candy. I make like individual little things.
It's a work of art.
I mean, I hate to say it, my kid would take the day off of school to help her mom prepare. and one year we did Carnival, and I got a cotton candy machine, and we handed out cotton candy or popcorn to the kids instead of candy. Yeah. So, and the way the cul-de-sac, the U is, the kids kind of tend to gather there. Yes. And parents and everybody, and
there's no age limit.
No.
If somebody is in costume,
they get
Michelle gives a treat. So
yeah, and
I always show up.
And they were like, what are you, please don't, stop.
Yeah.
And like, we love your house every year, so.
Yeah, there's a lineup of.
I do. I have a line of kids getting in the door.
Line of kids coming in.
And people stop in by our house, and I can see them out my kitchen window, and they hop out, they take pictures, and then go.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we will look forward to that, and I think you're also going to be creating some 1840s, 1850s Dickens era costume for December.
I have the bonnets done.
Yeah.
I broke my foot this spring.
Yes.
And I was stuck with I couldn't put any weight on my foot for a month, and so I made bonnets for Laura.
Yes,
I made bonnets for myself. When I said earlier, I was like, I learned Regency bonnet making. It was because I was stuck in my chair, covering my broken foot. So
lots to look forward to. The second video will premiere tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. And as a premiere, I will be on the site. There'll be a chat box. So if you have any questions, we will be happy to answer those. And again, go down below to the description box. There will be a direct link to my website that will contain fabric, button, pattern inspiration, any of the questions that
all
you
the links to the tutorials.
All the links to the tutorials. And thank you so much, Michelle, for coming and sharing your art. And thank you for watching. I know this is a little bit longer video than I normally do, but there's just so much business.
We had 7 costumes to cover.
And so if you enjoyed it, I always appreciate a thumbs up or hitting the subscribe button, and Now, after tonight's video, next week we're going to be starting my husband and I's costume for Beauty and the Beast. So a lot to look forward to. Thank you. Bye-bye.